both, I say both, all three, Billy, Dynasty and Tundra, love to play that Aurelia, and we saw Dynasty pick that up in the mid lane last game, but unfortunately wasn't really able to snowball anything out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, FM built a very strong team comp for dealing with the full AD coming out from the side of the NUEL. If we'd seen something like a Vlad, perhaps as the later the game got, it would have been slightly better for FM, but unfortunately for them, that was not the case. So I wonder whether or not they are going to go for this Aurelia once again. I'm fairly certain that FM will happily leave Aurelia open, so they're going to force NUEL into a situation where they say, you take Aurelia, or we're going to take Aurelia. And I believe you heard some interesting stats in relation to Tundra's Aurelia.
Yeah, so basically, there is no situation where the NUEL wants to give up Aurelia to Tundra right now, because in competitive games, Tundra, I'm talking about tournament games, Tundra is 23-1 on Aurelia. 23 wins and 1 loss in tournament games. So essentially, Tundra's Aurelia is not far off Faker's LeBlanc in terms of win-loss ratio, at least. So
it looks like he's going to get it.
Not something they want to give up, and actually they might have just given it up as they're going to lock in that Nidalee jungle for MC Hal as the first pick of the game. It's not been banned out, but they obviously don't hold that pick as highly in their regard as we thought, because they're going to lock in the Victor for Ziviz in the mid lane and that Rek'Sai jungle for Nutri.
Okay, so for those that don't know, FM really value Victor. I personally think that Victor is one of, if not the strongest mid laner in the game. His wave clear is fantastic, his damage is fantastic, his crowd control is decent, and he works in teamfight composition, he works in pick composition. He's just such an all-rounded, very ridiculously strong mid laner, and has actually very few counters. I, as an individual, argue that assassins are really the only way to deal with him. But even though assassins still aren't even the best for dealing with him, like it's still not an easy way to deal with him because of how strong his laning is, and he's just such a strong champion. And it's not really surprising at all that they've decided to pick him up this early, as well as the Rek'Sai. This is something that Nutri is very familiar with. As we talked about last game, both Gragas and Rek'Sai are still extremely strong champions, even though Nidalee and Elise have sort of come into their own.
Yeah. I feel like Rek'Sai is a champion that all jungle players are familiar with, because it's been a staple meta pick for so long now. If you can't play Rek'Sai, then I don't know what you've been doing for the last 6 months, basically, because he's been so strong. He's been at least top 3 for at least 6 months, I would argue. So honestly, it goes without saying to say these guys are strong Rek'Sai players, but over on the other side we are going to see the Nautilus locked in. So I mean, this could be a supporterless, I think most likely a supporterless, but we have seen Nautilus up in that top lane as well.
We definitely have. And FM really taking their time. I guess they weren't expecting this to come out. And something interesting that Tundra was telling me during the little break is they actually were very close on what they predicted the NUEL would pick. Their preparation going into this game it was remarkable how well they predicted what the NUEL would play and what their counterplay would be. So FM really putting a lot of research, really respecting the NUEL team coming into this game, and that's really nice to see. I'm glad that the UK top teams are still respecting these newer teams coming into the scene.
And I think as well, when you're in the position of FM, one of the major reasons that you might want to respect the other teams is you can't afford to go for a silly loss here, especially, I mean, in best of 3 series, and they haven't lost in the last 3 months. They don't want to end that win streak purely because they weren't prepared heading into a series. And I mean, you've seen in the promotional tournament, the National University Esports League team is certainly nothing to be laughed at. And I mean, they were doing so well towards the start of the game. I mean, it was 1-1, then it was 2-2, then it was 3-3. Both teams had got all tier 1 towers. It was kind of even Stevens until the FM lineup really sort of hit the accelerator pedal and got the game going for them. And actually, we are going to quickly see the game being remade, as there is a proxy pick, I believe. We'll just quickly swap over to caster cam. As you can see, Billy talking about Diana, but it looks like there was a bit of a bug with champion select. Bears couldn't pick anything, so it randomed to Kennen.
Ah, right.
So that's why there was a Kennen. I was about to talk about that, but then the lobby disbanded.
So they were communicating that they couldn't pick any champions. So it does look like that Shen and Diana will be brought out for the side of the NUEL, and that means that Tundra's going to be on his Aurelia. So they have decided to give it away, and that's kind of surprising because we know that Billy plays a very good Aurelia, and Dynasty plays an incredibly good Diana, something that I feel he doesn't have very much confidence on it. Having spoken to him a few times, he tends to only bring it out when he's got nothing left, and I guess he's kind of been backed into a corner, and now we are going to see that Diana come out from him.
Well, in the second game of a best of 3, if you lost the first one, you kind of are backed into a corner. It's all or nothing for these guys right now. They have to pull out this win or they are going to lose this series. And I mean, the first game, or the first series at least, of this season, you don't really want to be going out on a 2-0 defeat. So I would fully expect the NUEL to be giving it absolutely everything they've got. And maybe the Diana mid up against that Victor is something that is going to be able to pull them out a win. But the question is it going to be enough? I mean, Zivis has that gravity field to just place underneath his feet. The second Diana goes in onto that, you're going to get stunned up. There's not really a way out unless you want to burn your flash in some crazy way to make the aggressive plays. But I mean, how does that matchup go in your eyes?
Well, the thing about Victor is you're quite right. The moment any sort of assassin-based champion jumps on top of him, he will put the gravity field, but he's not going to stand in that gravity field. He's going to start walking away, and the great thing about Diana is the moment that gravity field puts down, she's going to jump on. Sure, she'll be in the gravity field, but you only get slowed for 1.5 seconds. And during that time, assuming she lands the Crescent Moon and the initial Lunar Rush, what will happen is as Zivis is walking out of a gravity field, he'll immediately pop the second Lunar Rush, and then he'll be safe from the crowd control. That he can then follow up with the rest of his damage and maybe pick himself up a kill onto Zivis. So it's definitely a skill matchup, that's for sure. But as I said, Victor has such a strong laning phase that I wouldn't be surprised to see Dynasty struggle in the early game. I wouldn't be surprised to see him force back a few times, but he's definitely going to rush that Abyssal Scepter. He will most likely go into something like the Zhonya's, and he's definitely going to be one tanky mid laner that that FM might have trouble dealing with.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if you get fed on that Diana, I mean, this is a champion that I've been playing personally in solo queue at the minute, because I just think if you can get 1 or 2 kills before sort of 10 minutes, you just become so hard to deal with. You can just one-shot the enemy AD carry, you can one-shot the enemy mid laner, and if it's a squishier jungle, you can go for them as well. And we'll see if Dynasty can get the ball rolling. We've already talked about how much of a snowball this guy is. He loves to play these champions that you can just get a little bit of gold early on in the game and turn that into so much more by roaming around the map, by picking up these early kills, and we'll see if he's going to be able to make that work. Last game, it didn't work out for him. This game, however, I was going to say he has the Ignite up against heal. He's just changed it to teleport in the last second, so he's not going to have that sort of direct counter for Ziva's heal. And actually, very defensive summoners coming out from the side of FM Esports. 2 heals here.
Yeah, I feel, as a Victor main, as someone who's played a lot of Victor, that's the coward's way out. Personally, I have no respect for Victors that don't run Ignite. You can't kill things with a heal. I don't understand why you'd ever run a heal. So, only real men run Ignite on Victor. That's all I'm going to... Nevertheless, this is definitely still a very skilled... definitely a very skilled mid laner. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying I feel that he could run Ignite in this particular situation. Nevertheless, let's talk a little bit more about this teleport on Dynasty's Diana. Something that we saw a very long time ago, back in IEM Katowice, I think it was, where TSM played against...
Katowice, I believe.
Katowice, sorry. But it was
uncultured swine.
my apologies. And but a very long time ago, we saw Diana mid come out from one of the Chinese teams. I think it was perhaps Team WE. I believe brought out that Diana, and they often ran teleport because of the amount of global map pressure that it adds. But not only that, Diana has traditionally a fairly weak laning phase up until she hits level 6.
Yeah.
So teleport just enables you to get back into lane, allows your lane to be much safer. Because really on a Diana, you're not looking to win the lane. That's not a Diana's job. She definitely is an assassin, but she scales ridiculously well with items, as you rightly said. She gets 1 kill, she gets 2 kills, she becomes a monster. But the alternative is in games like this, in really competitive high elo games, it's not that easy to get those solo kills onto a Diana, so you're looking to just get the gold. You want as much gold as you can. You don't want to be put behind, and a teleport just ensures that. So not only do you have ridiculous global map pressure, especially with a Shen on top of that, it's just basically NUEL are looking to make that global map pressure that FM had in the last game.
Yeah, I feel like these two teams have just completely switched tactics here. If you take a look down the FM lineup, you've got Aurelia, you've got Alistair, you've got Rek'Sai. All of these champions want to go in. They want to force these fights. And then if you take a look at the National University Esports League's lineup, they've got the Shen, they've got Nidalee for poke, they've got Diana, who admittedly does want to go very deep, but generally speaking they have a much more defensive comp than they had last game, and we'll have to see how FM are going to be able to use this more all-in type composition, and if they're going to be able to do it better than the NUEL were able to last game.
Yeah, the thing about FM is, having spoken to Tundra a week ago or so, he was telling me how FM prefers the mid to late game compositions. They prefer to have a team that relies on their decision making and comps that slowly scale into this mid and late game phases of the game. But that's not what you see here. You see they have, as you said, a hard engaged composition. They have a Corki. He peaks at the mid game. Victor gets a massive power spike in the mid game. Aurelia gets a massive power spike in the mid game, and Rek'Sai is just strong consistently throughout the game. And you see that they're going to be looking for these mid-game dragon fights. They're going to be looking for this early snowballing advantage. And meanwhile, on the NUEL, you've got a much more late-game focused composition. You're going to be looking for that Shen split push. You're going to be looking to get him as tanky as possible. You want Diana to get 2 or 3 items before you really start fighting. Same for Tristana. You want a few more items on that Tristana before you really look for that fight. And again, the same for Nidalee. So this time, as you rightly said, they've swapped. You're going to be seeing a very passive, very lane phase orientated composition coming out from the NUEL, and then you're going to see a very heavy aggression. FM are going to be looking to get a lead and snowball it to victory. Yeah,
we'll see if they're going to be able to pull that one out. I mean, I'm excited for this game because when FM have a plan, they execute it well, and with an early game type plan like this coming out from them, the first few minutes of this game should be explosive. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to pull this out. Obviously, that Nautilus support should be able to deny a lot of the aggression coming out from the FM bot lane. And we'll see if any of the other laners are going to be able to do anything. Obviously, Tundra is up in the top lane on that Aurelia. 23-1 is his competitive record in tournament play on that champion. We'll see if he can turn that into 24-1, or whether the NUEL are going to be able to ruin that win-loss ratio for him.
So coming into this early game, I expect a pretty standard start. I don't expect anything dramatic. We do see, again, Wisdom, Nutri and Toaster, same as last game, probably looking to get a little bit of deep vision down, but I don't expect anything dramatic or fantastical to happen.
No, I wouldn't really expect too much to go on, but as I say that, FM are going in, they're looking to go and get down this lane swap ward that we've seen them put in the first game as well. That is going to allow them to have vision of whomever is going into that bottom lane, and it looks like we should see just a 2v2 lane coming out. FM will be able to react to whatever the NUEL do, and with a Corki, you want that 2v2 lane for sure.
Yeah, but the one thing I really want to talk about is this fantastic vision coming out from FM. You can really see that they've practiced this before. You can see that they've put it in places so that no matter if the NUEL try to lane swap, FM will be able to see it. There's not a point at which they will not see this lane swap coming in. So very nice warding coming out from from FM, sorry, and definitely a good start for FM.
Yeah, for sure. And interestingly enough, despite FM taking that first game, our fan vote on the website has gone over to the NUEL. 80% of people voting for the NUEL there. It is trying to steal away this camp from Dynasty, and actually it is going to mean that he can't just comfortably take it. Dynasty actually taking a lot of damage from this one. Should be able to finish it off though, but because of him delaying it. Zivis should be able to shove these minions under tower here.
Well, that's absolutely fine, because he's going to get the early level 2 from taking the Raptors, and because he has teleport, he'll be able to teleport back to lane. That's only going to be a 4-minute cooldown, because he's going to be teleporting to a tower, so he's not going to lose very much at all. It will be exactly the same as a top laner getting a camper, then returning back to lane. Meanwhile, we do see laners, a bit of aggression in the bottom.
Do indeed. Wisdom has a bomb on his head, and then it's going to pop. Not too much damage coming out from that at just level 2. Ooh, the dredge line just narrowly missing onto Toaster. 1, 2, 3. Just going to be trading back and forth at level 2. Obviously, Corki does do a lot of damage. I'm interested to see. He hasn't actually leveled up a second skill yet. Obviously waiting for the opportunity. The Gatling gun is going to shred that armor. It means you do a lot of damage, but should he get caught out, you're going to want to be able to Valkyrie out. And
last game, Toaster's first death was getting caught out, so he will have to be a little bit more mindful of his positioning this game, but nevertheless, you can see in that top lane, one of the disadvantages of going straight to lane after doing a camp is that you can't pick up the additional health pots from the extra gold that you get from doing a double jungle. So you can see that Tundra's going to have a ridiculously more sustain. Meanwhile, Ayuki gets caught up.
It does indeed. The ignite is ticking. The heal comes out. Wisdom flashes for the last auto attack, but the ignite is not going to be enough. And now Wisdom caught up by those staggering blows, but despite the aggression, Ayuki is going to be able to get away. Or is he? The Prey Seeker comes out. It denies the base. And actually, are they going to go for a tower dive here? Level 3. Seems a little bit risky up against that Nautilus, but it looks like it is going to be the decision. Nidalee is on the way, but that's going to be the knock up onto Ayuki. Wisdom trying to get out of tower range. As the first blood comes through, Toaster finishes that one off, but Nutri has to flash away. The heal comes out, but it's not enough. Bears and People has to go down here. It's gone disastrously for FM as MCL is going to finish off Toaster with the auto attack. Double kill onto the Cougar, and it's a 2-for-1 for the NUEL.
That was... Initially, it was a very good tower dive from FM, but it was very predictable. You could see exactly what was going to happen, and as a result, that gave MCL plenty of time to react and come down to the bottom lane. I was convinced someone had autoed Nutri at least once, but no one had. So he ends up getting executed, and nobody's able to pick up that double buff, which is a real shame for the NUEL. If Bears had managed to just land a single auto attack onto him, they would have been able to pick up that double buff, and that would have gone even better for the side of the NUEL, but nevertheless, NUEL managing to pick up themselves up 2 kills, and that's 2 kills onto Nidalee. Oh, it's so huge. We all know from solo queue how horrible it is to play against the fed Nidalee, and now that with those early 2 kills, she's going to be able to put so much pressure on the map. And that passive early game from the NUEL is definitely not going to be surpassed with this early game Nidalee.
Absolutely not. Ziv is taking so much damage from Dynasty's Aurelia there. He may well have to go back to base, to be honest, from this one. He'll still have his heal available, but honestly, Dynasty might just be able to dive this Victor right now, and looks like basing is going to be the call for him. Does not want to get caught out in this early game. Already, with the enemy Nidalee having 2 kills, you do not want to feed the Diana as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but obviously without the level 6 coming out from Dynasty, not going to be able to really kill his opponent, and with the heal is a very smart move for Dynasty not to do anything too overly aggressive. It's nice to see that this time they do have nice vision around the middle lane, because the biggest problem with a Diana is she obviously doesn't have any escape. So as aggressive as you might want to be in the early game, and I'm pretty sure Dynasty does want to be aggressive, but Toaster gets hooked up.
Indeed, he's in a 2 versus 1, but he's trading fairly evenly against Ayuki. Late damage coming out from the bomb. It's going to mean Ayuki does eke slightly ahead in that trade, but with the triumphant roars coming out from Wisdom, he should be a-okay on that earth. He'll be able to continue to extend this farm lead that he started to build up. That course, 25 CS ahead of his enemy laner right now, and definitely a great situation for him, but obviously those 2 assists are going to make the gold not as fantastic of a lead as he would have hoped. MC Hal looking for Tundra here to be able to find that Aurelia though.
Yeah, Tundra's teleport just came back up, so he's probably going to have a large amount of gold that he wants to spend. Meanwhile, we can see gold leads building up all across the map for FM, but unfortunately for the bot lane, because of how early Ayuki was killed and how early he was forced back, definitely suffering from a massive gold and experience deficit. So not great for Ayuki in this early game, but nevertheless he's not completely out of it just yet. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, this is just the biggest issue with Victor's laning. He's just such a strong laner, and it's so easy to farm and clear waves with him. It's fairly understandable that Dynasty's going to fall behind in CS in this early game, but because he's got the teleport, he will be able to split push, and he should be able to pick that up as the game progresses into the mid stages. So nevertheless, even though they are suffering from CS deficits right now, I'm sure they'll be able to bring that back as the game progresses. Now, we have to bear in mind that Billy does have both teleport and Stand United available, as well as the teleport from Dynasty. So if anything happens anywhere on the map, there's definitely going to be somebody's going to be able to react almost immediately.
Yeah, we'll see how well they can react to the plays that will be coming out from FM Esports. Now, despite the score being 2-1, as you said, these CS leads in multiple lanes have made the goal ever so slightly in favour of FM, and actually the dredge line lands onto Wisdom. They're not level 6 yet, so that ultimate wouldn't have been available, but they decide that they don't want to commit to that fight. They don't. Alistair really is not the target that they want to be focusing on.
Quite interesting from Wisdom as well. He's decided to max his heal at first, so not something that you always see. Sometimes you will see the pulverize being maxed. I suppose it's more of a preference thing, and he's decided that the sustain in this lane is more important than trying to be aggressive. Obviously, with a Nautilus, it can be fairly difficult to burst someone like that champion down, and with the massive amount of mobility coming out from Ayuki on that Tristana, it's fairly understandable that they do decide to go for more of a sustain focused lane rather than that aggressive lane.
Yeah, we'll see. That one comes out for them. Obviously, the Triumphant Roar, if you max it, does offer a lot of sustain, so they're going to be able to withstand some of that poke that will be coming out from the Tristana, and a really nice freeze is coming out here from Toaster and Wisdom. They're going to be able to just continuously push this CS lead further and further, and there's not a whole lot that Ayuki and Bears can do about this one, but MC Hal is looking to make something happen here. He's arrived at the bottom lane, but he's going to be spotted out by the wall.
Yeah, and this is the best thing you can really do in this situation.
Oh, up in the top line, Billy in a little bit of trouble. They decide Tundra does not want to go too aggressive for that one, and he's just going to be happy with that CS.
Yeah, as you were saying, the freeze was going very well in the favour of FM, but that's how you get rid of the freeze. You say to your jungler, look, I need a hand, can you come help push out this lane? But MZL being very aggressive now with that completed rune glaive on him, he's definitely somebody that needs to be, someone that FM needs to be aware of, because he is going to be really strong at this 10-minute mark.
He certainly is. Toaster of Wisdom feigning to go aggressive there, just pushing up the lane a little bit, forcing that jump out of Ayuki, and actually Ayuki deciding he wants to go back to base. Wisdom just going to make sure that they actually are basing, make sure that they have left lane before they push this one on. Under the tower, equalizer used there by Toaster to clear away the minion wave. And they're going to be able to head back to base as well, so there is going to be a minion wave missed here for the Tristana. Ayuki not quite going to be able to get there in time for that one, but honestly, 30 CS down at 10 minutes, it's not good news for him.
Yeah, that's all a result of that early tower dive, and it's just put him behind so far right now. They had to back at that point because he needed some kind of damage. Meanwhile, in the top end, 100 is very aggressive.
He is indeed, and they're going to go for the dive on this one. Nutri is here as well. Can they get the knock-up? No, they can't. The flash isn't going to be enough, and Billy, flashing away from it as well, is going to survive.
Good job from Billy to get out of that. He definitely recognised quickly how aggressive Tundra was going, but I like what Tundra does in the lane with Aurelia, because he's so aggressive all the time. You often don't see it, but they have started up the dragon. Oh no, Dynasty, very nice teleporting to secure themselves.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get that one with no contestation here, as Ayuki actually gets caught out by Toaster. Toaster very confident on that Corki, despite knowing nobody from his team is around. Going to get a very favourable trade.
He might be caught a little bit out of position, but that he will be okay. And he is now reaching a point, the moment he's completed that Abyssal Zephyr, Zivis needs to be very cautious of what Dynasty can do, because as we talked about, the moment he gets an item or two, he's definitely going to be a massive threat. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw an Abyssal coming out from Zivis as well.
Honestly though, it's getting to the point now in that mid lane where Zivis can just pretty much one-shot the minion wave. So, as you said yourself, what can Dynasty do? Because if you've just got to be permanently clearing away those minion waves, if you can't actually use your abilities aggressively, then there's not a whole lot you can do to snowball, and we'll just watch Zivis just push that one straight through.
In the bottom.
Oh, in the bottom lane we do have Toaster knocked up here by that depth charge from Bears, and actually, I thought that tower shot was going on to Toaster there. I thought he was going to be Toast himself. But it is going to be this bottom lane tower secured here for FM Esports. Teleport is going to be, Stan United, sorry, is going to be available for Billy, but deciding not to use that one. And actually, they might well not be able to get this tower as MC Hal has entered the bottom lane. That's going to be the dredge line onto Wisdom, who immediately uses that ultimate. But no further aggression comes out here. The spear is going to land onto Nutri, but that's going to be the headbutt pulverize. Look at the damage onto Hal. He immediately pounces away from that one. And maybe, just maybe, this is going to be the tower after all. Both junglers still here. Ayuki now having to head back to base as Nutri is going to be looking for those Prey Seekers. And with this final minion wave, they are going to be able to get the last auto attack in. And actually, the tower's already gone down. I don't know how I didn't notice that.
I really like what Tundra's doing in the top lane as well. He's literally forcing Billy under the tower. So, for a start, if Billy decides to use Stan United to the bottom, he's going to lose his tower. But secondly, Tundra can just dive him, stun him up, and prevent him from joining his team, because as long as two champions are equal on health, Tundra should generally always get that stun off. And so as long as he doesn't harass him too much, he'll land the stun. You can see there, he does land the stun fairly well, and that would stop the follow-up from Billy. So very well played. Nice pressure coming out from Tundra, knowing very well what to do against the Shen in these situations. And really, this is so much a stronger advantage in this early game coming out from FM. But this is what we expected from their composition. They're definitely playing their composition the way they need to. And you can see now, this is the biggest problem. Well, this is the power spike that Toaster gains on that Corki. He completed the Shen. He's going to go back and he should complete his Trinity Force. And now they will be heading into these mid-stages of gaming one, really.
Yeah, Tundra's actually just picked himself a 2v1 and actually doesn't have the damage to finish off those minions, so Blade Surge going to be on cooldown now. Roger's away from the spear, but the Shadow Dash is going to be there as Wisdom arrives, gets the double knock-up. Can anyone else follow through here? Tundra could be in all sorts of trouble, but with Wisdom here spamming out those heals, he should be able to get away, and now he's with his mid lane and jungle. He's going to be able to escape that sticky situation. And NUEL are going to be kicking themselves after not being able to finish off that top lane.
Yeah, Hal should have held his spear for longer. Transfer Billy's call was just about to come up, and if they'd combined those abilities together, he almost certainly would have landed the spear. But now with the bottom tower gone, the bottom lane of FM decided to move in to this middle lane. Toaster.
Oh, Hal in a lot of trouble. Stan United actually going to be forced out of Billy here. So bad news for the NUEL. That massive cooldown is going to be used, and now this could be the end of this mid lane tower. The demolition crew has arrived in the form of Toaster and Zivis, and now they push in onto this tower. Ayuki and Dynasty are the only ones here. If they're not careful, they will get dived. Wisdom will not be afraid to go under that tower. It is going to be going down, and FM, they're not even leaving yet.
One of the issues of having a Diana is that you just don't have the same wave clear as somebody like a Victor does. And the siege coming out from Victor is incredibly strong, but Bears might be a little bit caught out.
Right, indeed, as Nutri gets the knock-up onto that Nautilus, and actually he's going to have to flash over the wall. Nicely forcing out that summoner there from FM, and continuously just pulling advantages away from the NUEL here, and continuously sieging onto this mid lane tier 2. Look at the gravity field zoning out the entire NUEL team here as Dynasty goes so aggressive, but look at the health bars drop as Toaster melts through the enemy team. That's going to be a kill onto Zivis as well, and it's a 3-for-1 so far as Tundra arrives and gets onto MC Hal. That's going to be a 4-for-1, and that is going to be the mid lane tier 2 going down.
Yeah, again, Dynasty trying his best to make plays, but he didn't have the mana required to really follow up on an engage like that. He also really didn't have the health, and with Wisdom flanking around from behind, it was pretty much just an easy tower dive for the side of FM, and you saw the damage coming out from Zivis there. He dropped his full combo onto both Dynasty and the Bears, and it just completely destroyed them. And unfortunately, this is just superior teamwork coming out from FMD. You can see last game they were a little bit shaky in the early game, but now that they have that very early game centric team composition, now that they have the power spike of the two Trinity Forces, they can afford to make these risky plays. They can afford to apply this sort of pressure onto the enemy towers and get the objectives that they need. Now, with a 6,000 gold lead, they're in such a good position to pick up the next straight and start forcing these next tier 2 towers.
Yeah, they certainly are. Obviously, the NUEL did manage to get themselves that first trade. Unfortunately, red buff actually going to reset on Ayuki there. bad luck there on the Tristana, but we immediately see both teams heading towards this Dragon Pit. Tundra comfortably going to be able to clear away any vision that the NUEL has, though. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure that this should be something the NUEL wants to contest here. They probably won't win this fight unless they get some kind of miracle. And Toaster just going to be hitting away that Scuttle Crab. The Dragon is going to be started off here by FM. A nice spear from Hal onto Zivis, but it's just not going to be enough. This is
a cheeky steal.
Across. Can see Hal might look for the steal, but it's not going to go through. Wisdom blocks the spear. That's going to be picked up by Zivis. That's going to be one dragon apiece for these teams, but not a single tower has gone down here for FM yet.
Yeah, and this is just due to the superior laning coming out from FM. They had a strong bottom lane, they had a strong middle lane, and obviously they had Tundra playing his favourite and extremely well-versed Irelia in the top lane. So while last game we saw from the NUEL very comfort centered, Hal
in a whole lot of trouble. Nutri going for that one, but he's in a 2 versus 1 all of a sudden, tunneling away up towards that Baron Pit. He's going to be able to get to safety, and this is one of the things that we've seen from Nutri in the last game as well. He knows how much damage he can take. He knows that he can go for these aggressive plays and then back away again. Speaking of aggressive plays though, MC Hal is going to have to get the Stand United on him as Tundra's gone so aggressive. The gravity field locks up Billy, but Dynasty going very deep onto this one, has to back away as Zivis is doing a lot of damage. And all of that time in the bottom lane, Toaster has been taking out Ayuki.
Yeah, Ayuki tried to defend the tower, but that was a massive mistake against a champion like Alicet and Corki. The moment he got a little bit out of position, a little bit too close to the tower, they immediately died to him. You can see the ultimate was popped from Wisdom, and that enabled him to pick up a kill, and I'm very impressed that Tundra managed to somehow survive. He was in the middle of 3 enemies, and he still manages to get away without losing his life, so just another advantage gained for FM. They pick up the bottom tower, and now they're moving towards this top tower's fort.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, if you're playing this game... Hal in so much trouble. He's just going to go straight down there. I mean, he was in his base. Almost. Not quite, but Toaster just doing so much damage. 5-1-2 on that Corki right now. And, I mean, if you're playing this game right now, you see the scoreboard from NUEL's perspective. 3-7. It doesn't feel like you're that far behind, but take a look at the gold. 8,000 is the lead coming out from FM. And it's all in these global objectives. It's all in these towers that they've managed to pull out for themselves, and we'll have to see what the NUEL can do about this one. I mean, when you're down in CS in every single lane, only the jungler is ahead right now for FM, but if you take a look at the gold, even FM's jungler is still ahead in gold just because of these towers being down, just because of those 4 assists that he's been able to get for himself. And honestly, it's looking incredibly difficult for the NUEL to pull themselves back into the game. I apologise if you guys can hear that. A little bit of feedback now, just quickly sorting out an audio issue that will be fixed momentarily. But honestly, FM look incredibly strong as we head into the middle game here. 20 minutes on the clock. The Baron is now live, and honestly, even though we're just 20 minutes in, I wouldn't be all too surprised to see the Baron be an objective that FM start to pressure on towards, start to try and pull in for themselves, and we'll see if that is going to be something that they decide to pressure, or whether the NUEL are going to be able to deter them. Obviously, Tundra in this bottom lane, he's looking for Dynasty, decides that's not a 1v1 he wants to go for, or is it? Blade Surge is on in, isn't going to be able to get the stun, but he's going to be able to choke down Dynasty's health bar. Half of that Diana's HP is going to be gone, and I believe that Andy is with me again.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, I have returned as a result of a slight audio issue, but I am back to impart my valuable and useful knowledge on the League of Legends. So you can see that they are seizing down on that top tower. It does look like they might be going for a bit of an engage.
They are indeed. Ziv's going to be knocked up and actually taken incredibly low, having to flash away. But look at the damage from the Chaos Storm. Ziv's picks up one. That's going to be one onto Toaster as well. And Hal in all sorts of trouble, having to flash away from that one. This is going to be the tier 2 going down. And actually, the flashes are coming out. One more rocket will be enough, and that's another kill for Toaster. He gets the unofficial double there, making the score 3-10. again as they head on towards the top lane inhibitor tower.
Nice to see the NUEL were trying their best to make a proactive play, but without Dynasty there to get that immediate burst off, they just weren't able to pick themselves up a kill onto Ziviz. If Dynasty was there and available, he definitely would have lost Ziviz, but with the massive gold lead that they had, with the massive item advantage that they have, extremely unlikely that they would have won that fight, but they felt like they had to try something. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But the thing is, Krafka Billy didn't even use his ultimate. He should have been the one in the bottom lane split pushing. It should have been Diana that was there to help follow up on that engage. And with the ultimate from Billy, they might have actually been able to get something off. That fight might have gone better in their favor. But unfortunately, as a result of poor positioning and slightly incorrect split pushing, they lose another fight. And that's another. Now all outer towers are down, and that's a 6-0 tower advantage in favor of FM.
It certainly is. Honestly, even Nick Billigan. Oh, the Void Rush coming out so aggressively from Nutri. Bear's in so much trouble, gets knocked up. Wisdom looking to follow up. And Nutri, despite tanking 3 people, he's still on 2/3 of his HP. Dodges out from the dredge line. The double knockup comes through. And Hal is melted down by the Gatling gun. Billy doing what he can as Dynasty enters the break. But they just don't have the damage here. In the meantime, Tundra's on the backline. He's now looking for Dynasty as that's a kill onto Trash Club. Billy picked up 3 for 0 so far as the knockup comes through. This is going to be the Diana falling as well. That's another kill for Toaster, who's 8-1-6 right now. And another 4 for 0 for the FM lineup.
Originally, that did look like Nutri was going a little bit aggressive, but you can see how tanky he is. And you do actually see the surrender vote coming out from the NUEL, so the FM went for a composition that was a lot more early game focused, and you can see that when they play that style of composition against a team like the NUEL, a team that they feel very confident in facing, then they definitely have that sort of advantage. They can pull off those compositions, and it's very well played by FM using the comp the way it should be used, and it already stems from that early game advantage that they built up in the bottom lane. Putting Ayuki so far behind that early on into the game, even though they failed a tower dive, they did their job. They forced Ayuki to lose, basically lose that bottom lane straight from the get-go, and unfortunately for them, they were never able to get that back, and the problem really stemmed from MC Hell not using the advantage that they built.